Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's so great to be here with y'all today. I was planning a different episode, and then, life's sometimes. And I'm a big fan of following the current of what is most true and what is most alive. And sometimes that means pivoting in the the ninth inning right before I'm about to get on and yap with y'all. And I'll still do the episode that I was planning on doing further down the line. But right before I hopped on, and what caused the shift was I received a message on Instagram from a longtime follower and a woman that I've never met. I've never directly worked with, but she sent me this gorgeous message about how my presence, my work, my energy, my evolution has been a constant source of inspiration for her and has helped her transform her life. And it obviously got me in the feels. It really touched my heart to receive that message. And it got me thinking about a few things. One, this idea that, the business world has gotten really distorted, especially feminine business. And for me, that whole world, the energetic of it has never resonated with me because I was brought up in a world of business training that was all focused on generosity first. You give, you give your best stuff. That's the marketing and business mentorship that I received. And it honestly just felt true. I can feel the thread of truth in it. And to me, I do this work to be of service. Now, some people will never come in and work with me directly. There will be people who, come in and do little, webinars or little workshops or shorter things. Then there are people who will do one-to-one work with me. And then there are people who are in my long-term programs and they're really deep in the work. And, they keep evolving with me as the work keeps evolving through me. And all of that is perfect. I don't have this paradigm that you only matter to me if you are paying me. There's something about that has always felt off and always felt a little icky. It feels extractive, to be honest. And this is not to say that I should not be compensated for the work that I do. Of course I should be, but it always works out. It always happens, that part is not absent. But this idea that we only put things out in order to get something, and I went on a rant about this yesterday in my main program, Initiated, and we were talking about entitlement and the energetics of entitlement. And this idea that, well, because I do this, I should get this. And when we're playing out that energetic of entitlement, I'm only doing this to get the outcome, you're not actually doing it because it's true. It's performative. It's not the truest expression of your gifts and your talents and what you were put on this fucking planet to do. And there are a lot of performers like that in the industry who are only going to show up if you pay them $30,000 an hour. And like, listen, there's pockets and space for everyone. Like, I'm not poo-pooing that. Like, if that's your vibe and that's your demographic, like, amazing. But that's not the demographic that I serve. I'm in service to the everyday woman who wants to have a rich, thriving life that feels good to her. And she wants really healthy relationships with her kids. She wants to break those generational curses, those generational patterns, and not pass that on to her children. She wants to have really healthy relationships with her friends, ones that are reciprocal, ones that are really enriching, and you leave those interactions feeling so alive and juiced up and turned on and ready to take on the world. She wants to have really healthy relationships with the romantic people in her life, and understand those baselines of relational mastery so that she can have a really healthy romantic relationship with her lover, with her best friend, the person that she wants to build a life with. So she has the tools and infrastructure to do that. The woman that I work with is a woman who is very much living by design. She's creating her life on purpose, or at least she wants to. She wants to step into that ring. And in order to do that, she needs to be embodied. So she needs to be in her body. She needs to be emotionally sober, which means she's not getting hijacked by her emotions or the stirring up of emotions that happen on this planet. She's sovereign in that. She's sober. She can feel her feelings without getting consumed by the feeling. She's energetically clear so that she's able to discern her intuition from her fear masquerading as intuition. And these are all areas that women will come to me to work on, to really fine tune, to be in community, to be in connection, to practice the skills that are required in order to break those generational curses or build really thriving community or have like romantic relationships that enrich your life. And even going out into the workforce, being able to bring relational mastery into your workplace and into what you're doing out in the world. We overlook a lot of the time how everything is relationship. And it's always so mind-boggling to me how many people will stepping into this work in whatever capacity because they kind of put relationships on, a lower tier of importance. When if we really look at it, relationships are everything. Like, you have a relationship with yourself, you have a relationship with the world, you have a relationship with your body, you have a relationship with your money, you have a relationship with your family, your friends, your partner, your work. Everything is a relationship. And when we have the internal infrastructure to be able to navigate all of those different types of relationships and make sure that all of those relationships are in their most thriving expression, well, we're now living in a very different paradigm, a paradigm where possibility is running rampant, where we are creating new infrastructure on a community level, on a family level, in the workforce. Like, there's a lot of people who would rather just like fight the system or like completely deny it altogether. And neither of those work. But what works is when you really get into the heart of your life, when you get into the heart of your human and you start living by design, you start living on purpose, which means eradicating and alchemizing the energetic of entitlement. Because entitlement is like, I should get this because I did this. And it's really held up by this idea that somehow life is fair, when the reality is life is not fair. And it's very hard for someone who is emotionally immature to sit with that. And what I mean by that is, most of the time when people are operating in an emotionally immature and a relationally immature thread in their lives, it's only because their younger parts are driving. So we don't expect a 6-year-old to make sense of that. It only makes sense to an adult who's kind of been initiated through life and understands that, yeah, life isn't fair. It's not. And that's not going to stop me from creating on purpose, from opening my heart, from being a genuinely good person in the world. I don't do things in order to get the applause. And if you do things in order to get the applause, there's just another level of impeccability, integrity, and embodiment that you likely need to drop into, so that we can mature the system, like your overall system, so that you're doing the things that you're doing because they're true for you to do them. That's it. I do what I do because it is true for me to do it, and I can't not do it. I was put on this planet to do what I'm doing. And I will continue to do what I'm doing. And yes, it evolves and it grows and it shifts and it changes, but the through line is always there. I have been able to maintain this since 2009. I've been doing this for a very long time. And there's never been a point, even when my story and my entrepreneurial journey has gone off-roading, like the through line is always there. I am always a teacher of love, first and foremost. It is always happening, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I am, no matter who I'm with. That's what's happening. That's what I'm here to be a stand for. And I don't feel victimized when, certain results don't happen. What I do, if certain results don't happen in the business, then I go and I investigate. Okay, well, where's the breakdown? What's happening? What do we need to clean up? What do we need to make more clear? Like, I don't get victimized by it because I'm not necessarily expecting that result to happen just because, I put up a post. There's so much more that goes into a business than that. I do expect that my business will make money, of course. But I don't put up a post in order to get specific business. I initially put up the post because it's in service to love. And it's in service to whoever needs to hear that transmission. And then the people who feel called to take it deeper, those are the ones that come through the gates. Those are the ones who sign up and work with me. And I trust the whole sequence of it. And, when this woman reached out today and told me how much I had impacted her life, and I have never met this woman. We've had a couple exchanges over the last 5 years, and each time it's been her sharing how much the work has impacted her. And I'm not sure, the degree to which she's, come into my free classes or maybe done, paid webinars or paid classes. She hasn't come into a one-to-one or an intimate group, so I've never met her in that sense. But what I think is so fucking cool is how much someone can transform their life just by the posts and the reels and the videos and the podcasts alone. That has always felt the most true for me. Like, okay, I'm on track. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here. And, the universe always kind of drops in these pieces of feedback at the most perfect time. Like there was a bit of a wobble this morning where I'm like, I'm not feeling the greatest. And a lot of that is because like today is my writing day. And so I'm about to like go into a vortex and work on my book. And whenever that happens, like I always hit this edge of like, oh, maybe like I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And like, why am I doing this? And like, maybe I should burn it all down. Like I'm human like everybody else. And I also know to not take those thoughts seriously, because all that is a little bit of my protector parts coming in to be like, well, if you sit down and you devote the time to writing your book and putting it all together, that's going to make you more visible. You're going to impact more lives. And like that's scary, because each new level, like it's always an expansion, and the expansion takes you into the world of the unknown. And then like there's the underbelly of like, yeah, and what if it's a total fucking failure? Then you're a total loser. Nobody cares about what you're doing. No one cares what you have to say. Right. And so like I have these parts just like you do. And they come up for me just like they will come up for you. And what also happens, and I've tracked this for a long time, is when I'm being called to do something bigger, the universe will always make sure that there's never a huge runway with that material. It can't really get momentum. So it gets interrupted really fast. Whether that's a friend calls out of the blue and we have like the most outrageous and unhinged conversation that totally like resets my energy. Or a friend will drop in and be like, hey, I just want to acknowledge you for something. When you did this the other day, it really made an impact for me. Like sometimes that happens. Or sometimes it's a complete stranger who drops into my inbox and lets me know that my work has forever changed her life. And there were some more details in there that I'm not going to share because they were obviously private. But to know that, those written transmissions, whether they are the Instagram posts or the longer form blogs or the videos that I do or the podcast, like there's a lot of free content that I put out into the world. And I do that because generosity is a big core value for me. Openness, big for me. Gratitude, big for me. And these are foundations for relational mastery as well. Like we want those energetics baked in to who we are. And when I get to receive that from someone, it is so nourishing to me. And it literally just snaps me out of whatever like fog out is happening. Because again, like when you're about to level up, there are parts that come in to smoke you out, to convince you that you shouldn't do what you're about to do. It's too scary. It's too confronting. Whether that's you want to, write an album, or you want to write a book, or you want to go for the better job, or you want to send the text that tells the person that you like them. Whatever it is, before that upgrade happens, inevitably there are parts that are going to try and smoke you out. They're going to create a lot of distortion, distraction, smoke, fog. So it's hard to kind of see the forest through the trees. And this is why doing the work on a deeper level is so helpful, because we do focus so much on embodiment and that emotional sobriety and building in the relational skills and practicing them on a regular basis. And you're able to catch these moments faster. You're able to decode your own map, We did a lot of that mapping work in Initiated this week, where we're looking at, okay, these are the sequences, these are the patterns, this is your map of how your system will smoke you out, of what happens in your system, because everyone's system is unique, it's different. And one of my gifts is being able to connect the dots between your patterns, your soul, and what your soul is here to experience, your past, and what in your past might be interfering. And so we bring it, into the light, and we connect these dots so that they can stop running interference on you. And so my job is to kind of see the web or the map of you and clarify that through my sight, through my embodiment, through the wisdom that runs through my body, so that you can save some time and get to the good stuff, which is practicing, which is, getting these skills, these energetics, these ways of being in your bones, so that your relationships, every single one that you have, including the one with yourself, is forever transformed. That's why we dive in deeper. But even if you don't dive in deeper with me, like, there's so much of that same energy that's coded into everything that I do. I can't not do it. It's just when you come in to work with me, I get to literally laser in on you. And some people really want that. Some people don't want that. And, so there's ways that you will navigate through this that are true and congruent for you. And I really do have a problem with, especially the feminine business space, that uses a lot of shame and guilt and pressure to have women especially override their knowing, or override their financial capacity, or override their energetic and emotional capacity. Because in order to do this work on a deeper level, you must be in financial integrity with it. If you are worried about the payments that you are making to a program, you are not getting the program, because your system is stuck in survival. You're worried about your baseline, rent, payments, putting food on the table. Like, you're not in the energetic space to be able to do this work, because this work is going to unravel you. It's going to open you. It's going to clear out what's in the system. And in order to be able to do that, and do that in integrity, the financial commitment has to be in integrity. You also need to have the actual capacity in your schedule to do it. If you don't have time in your month to either listen to recordings or show up to calls, you definitely won't have time to go through any of the content and apply it. Because part of this work is actually learning new skills, new ways of being. So you've got to have time to listen and learn the material, and then go and practice it in your life. And if your life is super intense and you don't have the spaciousness to do that, well, it's not going to be great for you. And when we take these things into consideration, and right now, like, I think that's a really important thing to just presence, that the industry as a whole, like, there's a shadow to it. And the shadow is using shame and guilt in order to have you override what is actually true for you. And my philosophy has always been, my door is always open when you're ready to walk through it. And I've had women who follow me for years and then come work with me because the time is right. Financially, it's in integrity. They have the space that they've carved out. They're ready. We don't go into this work until we're truly ready. And again, like I said, sometimes you don't need to cross into that threshold. Sometimes there are other people's worlds that you need to cross into those thresholds with. And you come and you receive and you apply what you're learning in ways that make sense to you. But I want you to really be mindful of how the energetic system of the feminine business space operates. It's relatively new. And so it's working out some kinks, and that's okay. And to be able to stay sovereign in yourself and not get whipped around by the shame, or like not get hooked by the shame or the guilt, that's a power move. And that is something that I can definitely teach you how to do. Because let me tell you, no one is making me or getting me into a space that is not true for me to be in. I don't care how many bells and whistles. I don't care how much glamour magic is being wielded there. My system sees right through it. And a lot of these spaces, unfortunately, they're very pretty externally. They sell a really great image, and then you get in there and it's bare bones. There's nothing in there. It's not what it seems. There's a lot of that happening. And so in order to really set yourself up, you want to really practice being in your body. And it's hard to be in your body when there's emotional congestion, when there's emotional constipation. This is why you will hear me again and again and again and again say you have to feel your fucking feelings. You cannot intellectualize your way through it. You have to feel it. And in order to feel it, you have to have the somatic capacity and the safety to know what's happening. And that's really one of the big reasons why women will come to work with me as well, is because I can hold that container of safety. And I'm not talking about it being a safe space. My spaces aren't safe in that regard. My spaces are true. My spaces are honest, where all of you is welcome. We are not like doing these performative, like put on a mask in order to belong. We don't do that in my space. Like we come in, we say what's true. And it's a really powerful, clean space because of it. Because there's deep honesty, there's deep truth. Like when you go into spaces that are performative, you're never going to feel safe there, because you know that there are these covert rules that if you step out of line, if you say the wrong thing, if you do not act the way that the community says that you need to act, you're going to get exiled. Sometimes even worse. Sometimes they will literally destroy your life. And that's not community. That's the toxic mimicry of community. That's the toxic mimicry of transformation. True transformative spaces are spaces that you walk into and you can feel the frequency of truth. You can feel the frequency of presence. You can feel that unfuckwithable energy, but it's a different energetic. It's none of your patterns that you've learned, like how to weaponize and manipulate behavior, are going to work here. That's the energetic. And so to come into a space like mine requires an upgrade in the ways in which we're relating, because a lot of us learned how to essentially abandon ourselves and abandon the truth in order to belong. And so that plays out in our adult relationships and in our adult life. And then we wonder why our relationships are a dead zone, why we hate our fucking career, why our life just feels flatlined. Because so much of the patterns that are operating are having you operate from an inauthentic place. And that fear of being fully yourself is so strong that you just keep running the same pattern, hoping it'll change, but it doesn't change until you change. It doesn't change until we stop playing those games and we stop running those patterns. And instead we click into something that's more authentic, more true. And it's not about performative politics, and I mean that in every sense of the word. It's not about an allegiance to an ideology. Anytime we're caught in that, we actually are totally disconnected from truth. And when we really want to live a life that feels reverent and true and an honest extension of who you actually are, we have to unravel all of that. And we have to come into spaces where what we care more about is the quality of your character, who you're being and how you're treating people. That's what matters. And I love knowing that my community on social media and the community in my containers are full of these types of people. Like, it actually inspires me and gives me, a lot of hope for what we can create when we start to collaborate from this place of openness, from this place of generosity, from this place of gratitude, where when we actually are impacted by something in a positive way, we're willing to be vulnerable and share that. Because that particular energetic is so powerful, and the nutrients in that are felt for a lifetime. Versus the performative containers and communities where you go into them and you think that you're going to be held and you think that you're going to get this nutrient and you're going to feel connected, and you just feel more guarded because your system is like, it's actually not safe here. You can feel the energetics. You can feel the domination patterns that are running, the superiority patterns that are running. Of like, you need to act this way in order to be accepted. So it's just that entitlement in a slightly different font of like, do good and like our version of good, and then we'll let you belong. But if you step out of line, you're done. Like, that's not community. That's not love. That's not embodiment. And there's a lot of that out in the world. And so all this to say, like, and really like weave in this invitation to make it a habit, like a daily habit of acknowledging someone who's impacted your life for the better. Because we think about feedback a lot of the time as this negative thing as well. And so people usually have a weird association with feedback, that it means that they've done something bad or done something wrong and they're going to get punished for it or rejected or embarrassed. And so we have to really start coding in new practices. And one of the strongest practices that you could code in is being willing to acknowledge one person a day. One person who has impacted your life for the better. Whether that is a stranger on social media that you have never met, but you've come across their content and their content really spoke to you and it shifted something, tell them. Be generous. Tell them. Be open. Be vulnerable. Code that frequency in through your behavior. Weave it in to the world through your expression of it. Give it away. Let people know who they've been to you. And this is a big foundation for healthy relationships. If you look at most couples, they don't do this. And that's a big reason, at least a contributing factor to why their relationships are in the toilet. Because they've gotten into habits of criticizing each other, picking at each other, finding fault, what's wrong, what's not working, and being in this constant state of like, we have to like be processing and fixing and changing, and like, that's fucking exhausting. The healthiest relationships are not in a constant state of processing or conflict. The healthiest relationships are between two people who understand the energetic of openness and generosity and gratitude, and they're willing to be vulnerable with each other and let each other know the ways in which they have been positively impacted by their partner. You know, whether it's something that their partner did for them, or maybe it was something that they just did that made their life better or easier, or maybe it's something that they said that opened their mind to thinking about something in a slightly different way. There are a million different things that people do on a daily basis that can be a positive contribution to your life if you're paying attention. And if we start to build together as a collective, as a community here, and make that commitment of, I'm going to be a walking, talking embodiment of generosity. And I'm going to make a new relational habit of acknowledging the people in my life for the ways in which they have positively impacted my life. I promise you, the quality of your relationships is going to skyrocket. Your sense of happiness and fulfillment is going to increase. You know, you're going to feel more anchored in your body. You're going to feel more available in your heart. Because when you lead with love, that's what happens. Most people, though, are leading with guardedness, a closed heart. They want the other person to go first. And they're like, if you say something nice, then I'll say something nice back. So it's conditional. Again, it's that entitlement energy of like, I shouldn't have to go first. I shouldn't have to be uncomfortable. Listen, life is unfair and it's uncomfortable. It's also truly beautiful and extraordinary. But you have to be sober enough emotionally to be able to hold the paradox of life. The paradox of life is not this utopia. That is not what this world is about. This world is full of contrast. And that contrast allows you to choose to be a conscious creator of your experience or not. And without that contrast, you can't actually make the choice to be an integral person or a good person or a kind person. You need that contrast in order for that choice of your free will to activate. And when we are willing to lead with love, when we are willing to lead with generosity, we never know what the long-term impact of that will be, because for all you know, you saying that may possibly save someone's life. You know, it might be the difference between them staying the course of their true soul gift or quitting. It may be the difference between someone like wanting to really like show up and be an extraordinary partner, or one that is just like so exhausted and throws in the towel. And then you're going to have to watch this spot that is expecting to be acknowledged the same way. Because if you do it in a clean way, you're just doing it because it's true. This is alive. It's true. I'm going to let that transmission roll through me and let them digest it however they want to. I'm not doing it in order to get the same thing back. Because if you're doing it in order to get the same thing back, you're not doing it because it's true. It's a performance. It's a game. It's not coming from a clean energetic. And when you do something that isn't clean, well, you're going to get an immediate bitch slap boomerang. from the universe. You know, it'll either devolve into a fight or, you know, it'll go sideways somehow when the energy wasn't totally clean. And this is a big part of what we do in Initiated. We clean the energy so that you practice and then you get the feedback. Was that clean? Was it not clean? Okay, cool. Like what adjustments do I need to make here? And I can see it really clearly, and I can be like, okay, just right here, this one little spot right here, this is what we need to fine tune. We need to tweak this. We need to clean this out a little bit. And here's how you do that. And so that we are able to stay in the game and we continue to practice these skills. But I promise you, if you go and do this, you are going to feel extraordinary if you do it cleanly. Go out and acknowledge one person a day. Make that your new mission. You know, it can be a stranger, it can be a friend, it can be a partner, it can be a family member, someone who has positively impacted you. Make that a habit, especially if you want community, especially if you want a healthy romantic relationship and, you know, maybe you're currently single or you don't have that, you know, community yet. Whatever it is, you have to lay the foundation for it first. And this is one of the best ways to lay that foundation. And you'll also see whatever is in the way of healthy relationships when you put a practice like this in place. Because all of your reasons, excuses, justifications, feelings, energetics that are incongruent with your desire will come up to try and smoke you out before you do this practice. All very, very valuable data. So if you want help making sense of that, obviously come and work with me. And if you're like, no, I got this on my own, great. I want you to take this and run with it. I want you to use the example of the woman in my DMs today who just made my day and inspired this podcast by generously sharing her heart, by being open, by being vulnerable, and letting me know how I have significantly impacted her life, and her relationships. And the more we individually choose to go out and be an activation of this energy, we start to code in a whole new energetic that allows for new types of community, new systems of collaboration and co-creation to be birthed that are more congruent with being in harmony with each other and the earth, which is really important, especially at this time. So I'm going to leave that there for you today. Please, please, please run that experiment and keep running the experiment. Don't stop. Like, start with 30 days, but then just keep going. You know, and if you run out of people to acknowledge, you can acknowledge the same person multiple times. There should be no shortage of things that you can acknowledge people for. And if you're like, there's no one, I call bullshit. Because if you are walking through life open-hearted, if you have a good heart, like, you wouldn't be in my vortex if you weren't. So you need to change the lens that you are perceiving your day through. Look for opportunities to be positively impacted by people, and you will be. And when that happens, acknowledge them for it. Whether it's the barista, whether it's, the person, checking out your groceries, whether it's, the person at the dog park who let you pet their dog and you were having a really down day. And they were like, yeah, of course, like, come pet my dog. And that made all of the difference for you. Let them know that. Because you might just spark up a new friendship. That might open doors for you professionally. Maybe it opens a door for you romantically. Who knows? And then life becomes this more magical, like, adventure. But you've got to be connected. You have to be an active participant in that. And this is one of the best ways to jumpstart that energy so that your life becomes a series of serendipitous door openings, serendipitous meet cutes, serendipitous co-creations with life and other people. And that's the type of world that I am committed to creating and committed to living inside of, which is why, for, one of the many, many reasons why I do what I do. Because that's the world I want to be a stand for, that I'm co-creating, that I'm an active participant in generating. And we have to have things that are bigger than ourselves that drive us, or we get stuck in the mud. And this is one of the things that really drives me. And I hope that it's inspired you. I hope that you're willing to take on this experiment and do it for the rest of your life. Make it an innate part of who you are. And, that is going to create the conditions for more possibility, more expansion, more love, more congruence on this planet. And you have the power to do that just by activating this one practice and making it a daily devotion. So I'm going to leave that there for you today. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking on this experiment. Thank you for being an active embodiment of love in the world. And if this podcast, if my work is calling to you and has made a difference, please let me know. If you'd like to take the work deeper together, let's be in touch. I'll put the information in the show notes and you can reach out to me and we'll have a conversation and we'll take it from there. Okay? I love you. I hope you have a really beautiful day, evening, wherever you are in space and time. And I will be dropping in with you again soon. Bye, friends.